When was the last time you actually searched for a question instead of asking AI? Yep, me the same. Except for this one. Every time I actually need a real answer from a real person, I still open it up like a search engine. It's called Xiaohongshu. You might know it as RedNote. On the surface, RedNote is kind of like Instagram plus Google. But on Google, your answer is buried under SEO articles, sponsored links, and AI sludge. On Instagram, everything looks so polished, it barely feels authentic anymore. That's just what the internet has become. Back in China, RedNote actually used to have exact same reputation that Instagram has now. Then everything changed. How did that happen? Do you remember this term, TikTok Refugee? In mid-January 2025, right as TikTok ban panic hits its peak in the US, instead of moving to another Western app like Instagram, people picked RedNote to do instead. In under 48 hours, more than 700,000 new users signed up for it. Downloads spiked so hard enough to send it to the #1 on the free charts in dozens of countries, from US to Canada to the UK. People actually start calling themselves TikTok refugees. What they stumbled into was basically a super app. Think of RedNote this way. If Instagram, pretty but superficial, and Pinterest, gorgeous but lonely, had a baby, and Google raised it to be incredibly useful, that baby is RedNote. So today we are breaking this down. RedNote started as a PDF, literally, just a static shopping guide. How did that turn into a search engine and a social network? What's in the algorithm that makes it so hard to close? And how did this accidental culture clash make me rethink everything? To understand how this accidental cultural oasis came to be, we have to go back to a time before the algorithm and millions of downloads. RedNote didn't start with any crazy VC hype. Back in 2013, after tech companies were torching mountains of cash, two people did something incredibly simple. Charlie Mao and Miranda Chu sat down in an old house in Shanghai and wrote 7 PDF shopping guides by hand. They made them for people traveling to Hong Kong and the US. At that time, they ran the whole thing less like a tech startup and more like a boutique magazine. But the innocent vibe didn't last. By 2018, RedNote has become China's flex culture headquarters. Luxury lifestyles, fake endorsement, everyone performing to live a dream they couldn't actually afford. The backslash was brutal. Users started calling it the most hollow, hypercritical corner of the internet. I literally lived through this. Back then, I remember hiding the app whenever someone glanced at my phone. It was a lot of fake flexing. Then, something that accidentally fixed the problem. The pandemic locked everyone indoors. And almost by accident, the app grew up. Nobody wanted luxury unboxing anymore. They wanted to know more practical everyday tips. How to make noodles from scratch, how to work out in a living room, how to actually get groceries delivered, etc. The team landed on something they call the 15-degree tilt. Content should come from human life, just go slightly ahead of it. Unreached luxury was out. Something a normal person could grab on their tiptoes was in. To protect that shift, the platform got strict. A 2021 community charter forced creators to disclose paid partnerships, cracked down on flexing and pseudoscience, and quietly buried aggressive comments, rebuilding the firewall around its editorial roots. Authenticity brought everybody in, but why did they never leave? Why does opening this app for 5 minutes turn into 2 hours? To answer that, I actually dug into 2 research papers published by scholars at RedNote's own engineering team. Underneath all the magic, RedNote's recommendation system is really doing just 2 jobs. First, it has to understand what you truly want. Then, it has to keep giving you something just different enough that you never get bored. The first job belongs to something called Note LLM. Think of it like a librarian who has read every book on the shelf. Most recommendation systems rely heavily on keyword or hashtags. Note LLM work differently. Instead of looking at tags, it actually reads posts, both the text and the images, and turns into kind of invisible summary of what the post is really about. Then it watches what users do next. If users who enjoyed post A almost always move on to post B, the system learned that those 2 ideas belong together, even if they don't share the same keyword. That means the algorithm actually understands meaning, not just labels. And that's a huge advantage for creators. Because if the system can understand your content on its own, a brand new account with genuine useful posts can still reach exactly the ones who care about it. But here is the problem. If an app only shows you exactly what you already like, you will get bored. That's where the second system comes in. It's called SSD, and its job is keeping things fresh. If your feeds start looking too repetitive, SSD deliberately makes in something slightly different. Maybe you watch 3 camping videos in a row. Instead of showing a fourth, it throws in hiking guide, a portable stove review, or a travel diary. It is just that variety keeps you hooked. To make this work, the algorithm also looks at content quality, not just view count. It gives the underdogs, the small creators, a fighting chance. Put these two together, and the strategy becomes simple. One learns their interests, the other keeps them fresh. That's why RedNote often feels less like an algorithm trapping your attention, and more like someone who always knows what you might want to see next. While algorithms decide what to see, the rest comes from the product itself. The way RedNote design shaped how people interact, how user habits cultivated, how the community grows, and ultimately, why this app feels so different. It starts with the product itself. Well, almost every social app, for example, TikTok and Instagram, chase the endless vertical feed. RedNote keeps something much simpler, a 2-column grid where photos, videos, and search all live side by side. It feels less like a slot machine and more like a place to explore. The platform also gives very small creators authentic chance, and because polished perfection isn't rewarded as much as lived experience, users gradually stopped performing for the camera and started sharing things they had indeed learned. That changes the way users use the app. Instead of opening it just to kill a few minutes, many arrived with a question already in mind. For example, cooking ideas, grocery shopping, applying for a visa, etc. Around 60% of users head straight to the search bar. And once users find the post, their comments also become just as valuable. They are full of updates, corrections, and users sharing what truly works. It's just more like asking thousands of people who already been there. That habit slowly shaped the community itself. Early on, more than 70% of RedNote's users were women, and that gave the platform a very different tone. Posts tend to be very practical, detailed, less look at my life, more here is what I learned. Users describe the app as electronic bestie, the place she checks before buying clothes, choosing a restaurant, or making everyday decisions. Even as the audience became more diverse, they were not just creating content anymore, they were helping each other. And once the app feels genuinely useful, your relationship with it changes too. Psychologists call this cognitive dissonance. You know that guilty feeling when you're scrolling for hours. RedNote cures that feeling because every few posts, you come away with something you can actually use. Ironically, that's probably why everybody spends so much longer here. It doesn't feel like guilty endless scrolling. It feels like time well spent. As it turns out, that craving isn't exclusive to one country. It's universal. Back to that January 2025 Americans' digital migration to RedNote. What really happened was closer to an accidental and filtered audit of the two countries' daily lives, playing out live in the comments. An Oklahoma farmer named Kathy Lawson put it perfectly to reporters. She said, "We're going to go explore the country and their values ourselves." And that's exactly what happened. Suddenly, people were comparing notes on things that mainstream media rarely put side by side. We're talking grocery prices, personal finance, healthcare, you name it. At one point, a point comparing massive American student debt to the $800 a year tuition at Chinese law schools went viral. Another funny one, homework got posted. Chinese kid wanted help with English essays. American kids want anyone, to just do their math homework. It was messy, full of broken English and machine translations, but genuinely one of the most organic moments of cross-cultural contact the internet has produced for years. But here is the irony. This very thing that makes RedNote feel so human, this cozy community-first vibe, is also its greatest financial curse. Welcome to the most expensive showroom on the internet with no cash register. RedNote has one brutal structural problem. It is incredible at making you want something, but it is the last one selling it to you. It built the most beautifully staged showroom on the internet. People go to RedNote to get inspired. They get seeded with an idea. But then they close the app, open Taobao, which is China's Amazon, and buy it there. In fact, about 20% of all Taobao traffic starts with an idea planted on RedNote. They do the work, and someone else gets the sale. RedNote tried to fix this. They even shut down 2 of their own shopping platforms in 2024, trying to find a way to make money without ruining the vibe. And that is the trap every community-first app runs into. The second you turn a beautiful window display into a giant shopping mall covered in ads, do people still trust you? Co-founder Miranda Chu compared the platform to a kind of living panorama. For example, picture one of those old, crowded Bruegel paintings. Dozens of tiny scenes happen at once, chatting here, kids playing there, every person doing their own small thing. But turn that into billboard space, the magic is gone, and the whole picture stopped meaning anything. Now, maybe it's simple. Maybe we are just tired of looking at the screens that feels like they're all trying to sell us something or pretending to be perfect. At the end of the day, we still want advice from someone real, not just efficient machine. Sometimes you don't need a supercomputer, you just need a digital neighbor, someone to tell you if your milk in your fridge is still safe to drink. Thank you for watching. If you want to know more ideas and thoughts about Chinese business, please feel free to check out these videos. Anyway, when the internet gets a little bit too much for you, where do you go? Tell me in the comments. I genuinely want to know. I will see you in the next one.